Further, it describes also the behavior of the Christians. I will read you, but before I read you another ayat, that is At-Tauba 9 and Ayat 33. Huwa allathee arsala rasoolahu bilhudawadeeni alhaqqi liyuthhirahu aladdeenikulihi walaw kariha almushrikoon. It is he who has sent his messenger with guidance and with the judgment of truth, so that he makes it obvious on his every deen judgment, even if those who associate dislike it. Mushrikoon will dislike it. Now, in this ayah, Allah says he sent his message. This is repeated 2 times more in the Quranic ayahs. You can write down the reference if you want to. Fatah 48 and ayah 28, and Surah Saf 61 and ayah 9. This ayah is repeated, has been repeated in the Quran 3 times, 2 times more. One I am reading, Surah Tauba 9:33. But the last portion, walaw, kariha, almushrikoon, in one of the places, wakafa billahi shahida, and enough Allah is a witness, Allah is a sufficient as a witness. It is he who has sent his messenger with guidance. It is Allah who has sent his messenger with guidance and with the judgment of truth, so that he makes it obvious on his every deen judgment, and even if those who associate dislike it. Now, in the Quran, there are many judgments laid down. All the do's and the don'ts that I read is a judgment of Allah. If you obey and follow those judgments, you attain peace. The judgment I read you in the beginning, the do's and the don'ts, are the judgment of Allah. And these judgments, Allah says, you follow, you attain peace. Now, in this I say, it is He, Allah, has sent the messenger with guidance and with the judgment of truth. The messenger Muhammad Rasulullah came with the guidance and with the judgment of truth. And the messenger, he make it obvious. Whatever the judgment of truth laid down the Quranic ayat, he made it obvious on his every judgment. All the judgments that are mentioned in the Quranic ayats, every judgment that is mentioned in the Quranic ayat, he make it obvious that this is the deen al-haqq, that this is the judgment truth. So if you look in the world, this was done by the messenger Muhammad Rasulullah, but in the world also, if you look take up any judgment, like Allah said, do not use alcohol or do not drink, intoxicate. So the research is done, and ultimately the conclusion that comes is that yes, it is harmful for man. So that is the judgment, deen al-haqq, that is the judgment of truth. So the messenger, when he came and he practiced those do's and don'ts, he established the do's and don'ts, meaning that he made the things obvious to the mankind. That whatever is mentioned in the Quran as do's and whatever the don'ts are mentioned is deen al-haqq, is the judgment of truth. You have to practice that. And that he made it obvious. The messenger made it obvious to mankind that this was the truth. The deen al-haqq, to all the judgments of Allah in the mention of the Quran. Now people are translating as this, that the other, make it obvious to the other judgments. There are no other judgments. The judgments in the mention of the Quran. All the do's and the don'ts that I read are the judgments in the Quran. So the messenger came and he made it obvious, those judgments, as the deen al-haqq, as the judgment of truth. So this judgment of truth, as mentioned in the Quran, he made it obvious. So what the message we get, that the messenger made it. And when we were reading those do's and don'ts, when we were reading it, we were analyzing it, we were coming to a conclusion that this is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth, this makes sense, this makes sense, we should follow, we should practice. When I was reading those do's and don'ts, so the messenger in his lifetime and came and he practiced those do's and don'ts, so that he make it obvious on every judgment of Allah, he made it obvious. So he made it obvious. So no matter whatever the mushriks people are, whatever the people who are associate, or Allah is enough witness to the fact that he made it obvious to all the judgments.